What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of the SuttonSanctuary. Over the weekend, I had to work all weekend. So I worked nights, so I pretty much spent, all day throughout the weekend, every day sleeping. Monday, Briley was off, I was off, so we kind of just spent the day hanging out, spending a little time together. Since I was pretty much gone for most of the weekend, so we didn't get around to filming an episode together. She went back to work. That's where she's at now. So just me this episode. This weekend we'll get back to shooting. Get another video out next week with us together. So I know it's just me. First thing I want to go over I want to just talk about real quick. The video last week, we had a ton of positive and just really nice comments and people reaching out, congratulating us or talking about how they're proud of us. Just so many nice things were said, and so much positive feedback came from that video. And so I just want to say, I speak for Briley and myself whenever I say thank you so much for the nice comments, the words of encouragement, all of that stuff. It may seem very small or minuscule to you guys, or it may seem like they're just nice comments. They may not mean as much to you, but to hear those kinds of things, I can say personally that it does mean a lot, and those words, they stick with us and they encourage us, and we just, thank you guys, really. With that, I want to kind of talk about I had a lady message me, and before I forget, first off, let me just back up real quick. I have to just thank the gentleman that I can't remember, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, I think, and I was sitting at the gym in my truck getting ready to go inside. This guy pulls in. There's a section of parking in front of where I'm parked at, and it's two rows, like where two cars can park, and there's a whole row. This guy backs in. As he's backing in, I don't know what he's doing. The lane is like this. He's backing in like this. He then goes ahead, backs right into the car behind him. Now, keep in mind, he probably thinks that there was nobody watching him. He probably thinks that no one saw. But I saw you, buddy. I saw you back into that car. And I saw you get out and look at it. And then get back in your car and straighten up. And you just put it in park and went right inside like nothing had happened. I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the same thing. It was just hilarious to watch because you just thought you were by yourself. And you weren't. And then he gets out and it's this little Chinese man, just to make things worse. Or better. And I'll explain what I mean by that. You would think, those guys, I mean, just from what I gather, they're all supposed to be, they're smart individuals as a whole. So then to see this guy get out here and he's driving like a psycho and then just backs in and it's like, use your head, like your people are supposed to be. But then at the same time, I can't like be all that mad because, he gets out whenever I see him, you couldn't have slid a penny between his eyelids. And so like, can you really be that mad? Like, I kind of get it. I'm kidding. But he really was a Chinese man, and it really was hilarious. And he backed right into this car. And then I go inside after I see this happen, and he's just over in the corner doing his crunches. Like it never happened, and it's hilarious. And, I walked by and looked, and you couldn't see any damage or nothing. He couldn't have been going 2 miles an hour whenever he binked. It was funny. It was first thing in the morning. And it was funny. It made my day to see that first thing, and just, he just thinks he was the only one in the parking lot that saw it. And I just know you weren't alone. Anyway, I had a lady reach out to me after the video last week, and just really nice. And she asked me some questions that I typically get quite a bit whenever I start talking about TRT and hormone stuff. And for some reason, whenever I mention that, whenever it comes to recovery, every time you start to mention TRT, especially for guys, I know they kind of, their ears perk up a little bit. And, they always seem to have questions about that. And they want to know more about getting your blood work done and those types of things. And then I had a lady, and I won't mention her name, but she reached out and she said this: that she had listened to the podcast, but she had some personal questions if I was okay to answer that. And then so she asked me, was your low testosterone and low sperm levels attributed to the alcoholism? It's a very good question. Was your low testosterone and low sperm levels attributed to the alcoholism? Now, I don't, again, okay, so let's make sure we put this out there, I guess. I am not a doctor, okay? I'm not a medical professional at all. But I do have, real life experience with some of these things, okay? And I can only speak on how it benefited me or how it worked for me, or if it didn't. That's all I can speak for. So I shouldn't have to say it, but again, I'm not a medical professional. This is for entertainment. This is just what I know from my experiences. I haven't been sober like this since I was, 15 years old. So I can't really say for sure if my low test or low sperm was actually attributed to my past use of hard drugs and alcohol. I'm not really sure. I haven't had a time where I was sober enough and then got it checked, so I don't know what my levels are like whenever I'm sober and healthy. I'm just now figuring that out. I haven't been back. I haven't had anything tested. My levels go like as far as that goes since my last testosterone injection, which was about 3 weeks ago. So it'll just kind of have to be a time thing, and after a little bit of time goes by, I'll have to get levels checked, and I'll have to see how my body is reacting now that I am sober and now that I'm healthier. I'm skinnier now, which helps out a little bit, not packing around a whole bunch of extra fat, and so I'm much healthier. So I don't know if that very first time I got my levels checked and my test was in like the hundreds. I don't know if that was because between the anxiety and depression and just the long-term use of drugs and alcohol, I'm sure probably did have a negative effect and impact on my testosterone, on things like my sperm production. I'm sure it did have some sort of impact. I can't imagine it did anything good. You know what I mean? So, we'll see. And whenever I get this next test done and I see kind of where I'm at, I'll be able to tell sort of how my body is reacting now to kind of, I guess, a healthier version of myself in a sense. And that's kind of how I answered that whenever she asked me. And then she goes on to ask me what type of doctor or clinic does these types of testings. So any local clinic, any of your local doctor's office, anywhere you'd go for like a normal checkup, you go give blood, and get your labs ran. Anywhere I think should be able to do that. I think you just have to specify whenever you do. I know I had to. I just specified like the first time because I went to a clinic in Carmi, and I just specified that I needed my hormone panel back, and that's what I was looking for. So they got me my hormone panel, no problem. If you're just doing this out of curiosity, out of you just want to see kind of where you're at, you're not really maybe looking to optimize hormones or actually get any sort of treatment, you're just curious, then yeah, I would just go to any doctor, any local clinic that you can go to, whatever's the cheapest place. You can just go get some blood work done and just specify you want that hormone panel back. Shouldn't be a problem. But if you're actually looking to optimize your hormones, or if you think that maybe you are in a position that I was in where your levels you think are extremely low. And whenever your levels are really low like that, it can be just as detrimental to your health as if you had super high testosterone. They can both be dangerous in different ways if you're not careful. Trust me, I know what that's like to have basically no testosterone, and I can't even begin to describe the just the mental battle of itself. Not alone, just feeling like shit, and you're tired, and you can't get out of bed, and you're depressed, and then mentally you're just completely over your existence. I mean, it's a terrible time. So if you are someone you think that's battling that, and you know you're willing to, you're wanting to potentially optimize those hormones and whatever, that's for you to figure out. Again, I'm just this is just for entertainment. I went to the True Test Clinic in Marion, Illinois, and that's where I went. That's where I got my labs done. That's an actual like hormone specialist doctor's office, and I met with a physician there, and then I got my labs done, and then went back, had a meeting with the doctor there, and we went over everything, and I explained what I was experiencing as far as the low libido, the depression, the ED, all these different things that I was experiencing. And that's one thing. If these things aren't fun to talk about. It's not fun to talk about. I was 23, 24, battling ED. Like, it's humiliating. It's embarrassing. 1,000%. But like, it's real, and it was real for me, and it's not fun at that young of an age to be battling. Something like that is just it's humiliating. I don't really know how else to describe it, but. So whenever if you are looking to optimize the hormones and you're wanting to do this, you have to be willing to be honest about what is going on in your life and what you're having trouble with. Because if you're not honest about what's going on, you're never really going to be able to get the help that you need. And that goes for anything in life. Like you have to be honest about what's going on and not be afraid to just speak up, because it's what these guys do for a living. They see it every day. It's their job to battle these things. It's what they do. So don't be afraid to talk to these people and to let them know what's going on. But so I went, had my meetings, got my blood work done, all that. That's where I got my TRT from, was through True Test. And how that works is they would just send me in the mail like a 90-day supply, testosterone, anastrozole, I don't know exactly how to say it, and it's something else. One was to help keep my natural male reproductive system working, which did not go as planned, obviously. And then another one was just my estrogen blocker, and that was to keep my estrogen from getting too high, developing things like gynecomastia, man titties. Nobody wants man titties. I never had any issues really with my estrogen getting out of control. I never had like sensitive nipples. I did battle acne. Now that I'm 3 weeks off the TRT, my acne has cleared up almost like non-existent. And I only ever really got it was like on my shoulders, and my back started to get a little worse. But now that I'm off the TRT, the acne's gone. So that just goes to show, again, if you are looking at optimizing your hormones and you do think that's something you want to look at doing, you have to understand, one, things like acne. Two, it could completely wipe out your sperm count, and now you're 3 months out before your sperm even starts to naturally reproduce. And luckily I'm younger, so I'm hoping and I'm praying for my body to come back pretty quickly. If you're older, I know it's going to be harder. The older you get, it's harder to get that natural system to kind of kick back in and start working again. I am hoping with me being younger that I'm able to kind of make that turnaround fairly easy. I haven't been on the TRT for like the last 10 years or anything like that. So we'll see. That's what I'm hoping for. But there's also a place in Evansville. It's called Optimize You. It does the same thing. If you're looking to optimize hormones, that's another place you could go to. Again, it's all a very simple process. Insurance does not cover testosterone. Insurance will cover your lab works to get done, but they won't cover the actual testosterone itself. So you have to be prepared to pay for that, and you're looking at around $200 a month for testosterone, estrogen blockers, and I cannot remember what the other one was called, but for my male reproductive system. So yeah, that's just a couple of options of things you can do. I feel like these are questions that I do kind of get a lot. People asking me about the testosterone and where I went and kind of how that whole process goes. So if you have any more questions about that, you can reach out and ask. But it's pretty straightforward. Again, I just encourage you to do your research and to know what you're getting into if you decide to go that route, and really understand the long-term benefits of what it can do to you if you're not careful. And you have to weigh the pros and the cons. And for me, I do think it was beneficial in my recovery. I'm gonna keep this not too long today. Just going over a couple of things that I thought I got to thinking about after the last video. I was like, well, what are some things I could talk about that helped me at the beginning when I first started to get sober? What did I do that I think kind of catapulted me forward as far as really being able to kind of take my mind back over and control the urges and the cravings, and because a lot of it, it is, you do have the physical withdrawals and you do go through that. Your sleep sucks. The sweating, shaking, but those don't stick around too long. They didn't for me, a couple days. It's the mental stuff that it stays around afterwards, because now you're having to refigure out who you are as a human being whenever you spent the last 10 years of your life. Basically, everything you did, you revolved around one thing, and now you're trying to figure out how to live your life without that one thing. And so it's kind of giving me this chance to step back, reevaluate myself, and really figure out who I am as a person. And this is the first time I've really had the chance to do this, since I was 14 or 15 years old, and it was long overdue. So I just wanted to go over a couple of these things that I wrote down that I thought helped me and maybe will help someone else, and can be something they can, someone else could look into if they're kind of having some struggles. So my first one was the TRT. I don't think that should be your first option. I know I already went over this one. I do want to say I don't think TRT should be your first option. I think I should also note that before I started TRT, I did other things. I took the Andrew Huberman supplements from Huberman Labs, the Tungcat Ali and Fedoja agrestis. They're supposed to be two natural supplements that boost testosterone naturally. I did supplement those. I took those. I might have saw maybe like 100-point jump, which is pretty, not bad. If you're a natural person that you're running 800-900, and you could take something naturally like this and be up pushing 1,000, like that's pretty awesome. But whenever you're someone that's running at 109 or whatever it was, and 116 or something, and 100 points isn't doing too much for you. It's not really changing a whole lot for you. I went to a super lean diet. I was eating just a lot of fish, turkey, not a lot of red meat, to try to also boost it. I tried a couple things to bring it back up naturally to where it needed to be, and nothing really worked. So the TRT, I don't think it should be your first option. Okay. I don't think it should be your first option. I don't think the very first thing you should look at doing is injecting yourself with testosterone. Okay, I think there's other things we can do to mitigate it first. I was also still training. I was working out still 5-6 days a week. I was still, even in the midst of the addiction. I was still in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. So again, I was, it wasn't just my first instinct was, okay, I need to take testosterone. That wasn't my first go-to, and I don't think that it should be yours either. I think that's kind of that last resort type of thing, honestly. The second thing I put down was AA meetings, and I wrote in parentheses with it, we'll get into it a little bit, relationship with God. AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a group that is centered around religious beliefs and the belief in Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, the Son of God. And gotta text Briley back. Anyone else ever with their wives or their girlfriends or fiancés or whatever, their wife, whatever, they'll text you and just like Briley did, she said her head hurts and did you drink your water today? Have you ate? Sometimes you got to remind them. Back to the AA meetings. So I did go to AA for a couple of months. After my last relapse, I went to some meetings. I did like it. I worked through the 12 steps. And, some people believe that it's their belief, you are probably going to have to work the 12 steps for the rest of your life. And for some people, they do. I don't think that's completely accurate for everybody. Thank you, Zara, for taking out my light. Sorry, guys. So, I don't think that's for everybody. I think some people benefit from having to continually work through their issues. I think some people benefit from they work through them and then you move past them. I'm not saying you don't forget, you never forget. But there is that sense of, okay, it's time to let go. It's time to forgive myself and it's time to be done with it and move forward. I have a strange relationship with God. If I'm just being completely honest, I have a hard time with the story of Jesus Christ. If that is true and that is what happened, it's amazing and I'm here for it. And but I do believe in a higher power. I do think there's something greater than myself. I don't know if it is the universe. I don't know if it's aliens. I don't know if it's God. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if it's the moon and the stars. I don't know if it's whenever you feel the wind, you're sitting outside and you feel the wind and you hear it flowing through the trees and the leaves rustling together and you feel it and there's like a sense of like calming, pure relief and like, I don't know what it is. But I do think there's something else going on that we don't know about yet and probably won't know about until we pass. So whenever people ask me like if I pray, they ask me if I pray, if I talk to God and all these things. And yes, I do. I pray every day. I feel like I'm pretty much in a constant mental state of prayer all the time. Because I'm always either talking to myself or I'm just talking if there's a God listening, but I'm always talking. And at the very beginning, I was very serious about it. And I was very like, everything I did, I was always just praying, just asking for whatever the higher power is out there, to just give me the strength to continue to move forward. And I asked for that in everything, in the gym, at work, in my relationships. I was always praying, always asking for that. So I think prayer is a good thing. And whether it's like a prayer or whether for you it's more like a meditation, whatever it is for you, but I think some sort of just sitting down with yourself and your mind and just just asking for that strength from wherever you're asking from, whatever source you're trying to feed from. I think it's important. I think it's good. I think everybody should sit down and have that just minute with themselves, and just kind of putting their mental state in order, however that is for you. So, do I believe in a God? Yes, I do. I won't spend too much time going into this because I'm not like a huge religious person. Probably more of spiritual. I believe more in like vibes and good and bad energy, and I think all those things are real. I think it's things like that that we can't see that's going on with, every human soul, and we're all interconnected in some weird way. And in a sense, I was just having this conversation with my cousin the other day, talking about how, in a weird way, everything in this world almost makes sense. I don't know what that means whenever I say that completely, but something in this world, everything in this world, it all just almost makes sense, and not the things of like tragedies and those things don't make sense, but just the way human beings are, the way we're created, the way our bodies are so complex, but everything works together so perfectly. Um, some of us, not all of us. Uh, yeah, maybe that's a little fucked up, but really though, it makes sense in the way that we interact, and the way that whenever you treat your mind, body, and soul, and you take care of it, and positive things begin to emerge in your life, and all of that is just it's all connected, and I don't know how, and it doesn't make any sense, and maybe we should start to explore psychedelics. Maybe that's where the answer lies. I don't know. But some way, it seems like everything is all connected in a weird way. And so I don't think that's by coincidence. I don't think that just happened out of nowhere. So that's kind of my take on it. And I could get further and deep into this. But I think that's a conversation for another time. Uh, Another thing I used, and still do every day, is the gym, working out. If you're someone like myself who has a hard time with pent up emotion, you don't know how to distribute that emotion, or you don't know how to, you don't know how to properly display that emotion, and it just kind of sits inside you and it boils up and you don't know what to do, and you have nowhere to put it. The gym for me, lifting heavy weight, releasing that, whatever that is inside of you, all of that, I think is so good physically for you, mentally for you. There's a reason testosterone in men, and there's a reason, that thing that, and it all kind of comes back together again with the testosterone, because whenever I didn't have any, I was lacking in all of these feelings of like being a man, and like that feeling of like aggression you get in the gym, and you're lifting heavy weight and the endorphins are flowing, and like you're just feeling like that fucking like whatever it is, and I think all of that is so healthy for the mind. Even not in a sense of like a man. I think for women too, it's good to get in there and release that. And I think to do it physically, I think it's a super healthy way. And again, another conversation I had with my cousin who's also sober. I told him, I was like, I think you need to get in the gym. I was like, I think you're a lot like me. I think you've got a lot of pent up emotion and you know where to put it. I think a lot of people have that issue, and you've never heard anyone be upset about joining the gym, getting in the gym, working out. You never hear anyone upset about a workout they got in. You never hear anyone talk about how bad they feel because they've been working out. It's only positive things, and it's the whole obesity, and again, a whole other conversation, but it's such a problem, and the mental health decline in the United States, and I think a lot of it correlates back to our physical well-beings. It's hard to have a good mental well-being with the poor physical well-being, and it's really hard to have a good physical well-being with a poor mental well-being. I don't It's really hard to do both of those things, and you're not always going to have both of those things, and that's where motivation goes out the window and discipline steps in, and that has to take over. And developing your discipline through things like working out and a healthy diet, and it's only going to just make you that much better as a human being. And so I think it's important to have that mental and the physical, and I think they both go hand in hand. And once you start to figure one out, the other one kind of starts to come into play, and you have to build off that momentum. So the gym, I put down a change of scenery. I got two more things. I got 5 things total I wrote down, and there's more things than this, but these are just things that I thought were kind of most beneficial to myself. I put a change of scenery. Sometimes we are just held back by the environments, that we're in. And sometimes you just find yourselves in situations where maybe there's just nothing left for you in the place that you're in. There's nothing there for you. There's nothing left. And you have to be willing to, say your thanks to that place and everything it gave you. And sometimes you have to get out of there in order for yourself to grow. And because you think that it's you and you think that you're stuck and there's nothing you can do, when in reality, you just weren't in the place you were meant to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just weren't in the right spot for you to flourish. Sometimes you need that change of scenery. That gives you that extra boost. You're around different people. You're not in the same mindset every day. And sometimes that same mindset over and over, the same thing, it drives you crazy. So for me, I think getting out of, and I love all the people that I used to hang out with and I was around a lot, and now I don't really hang out with anybody. Just my dogs and my wife, and we pretty much just stick to ourselves. And I wish everyone the best always in their life. It just, for me, I had to get out and I had to separate myself from that environment that I was in, because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle being in that environment, and I couldn't handle being around the same thing every single day and the same people doing the same things. And oh my God, it was beginning to drive me crazy. And that's not a personal jab at anyone or anybody or anything. It just, I was not in a place that I felt I was going to flourish, and I felt that that's a place that's only going to suck me in deeper and eventually just spit me back out. And I just had to be real about that and know, that it just wasn't my place. And I think it's good for everyone. I spent a lot of time on the road traveling. I got to see a lot of places. I lived different places. Living in Iowa and Florida, and I spent time in all sorts of different states, traveling, working, getting to see things, and not all of that was good and beneficial, because probably where I developed a lot of habits that led me to where I am now. And I can be open and honest about that. And so it wasn't all good, but I think it is good for people, sometimes to just get out. And if you can always go back, and that's what I always tell people. This is what I think. Whenever I was on the road traveling all the time, I would come back from being on the road. Whenever I would come back to North City or wherever, everybody's doing the same exact thing they're doing whenever I left. The same thing. Nothing's changed. Everybody's still getting coffee at the same place every morning. Still going to the same places, hanging out at the same spots, the same crowds, just the same everything. And I am a creature of habit too. I've got my own routine, and I'm not saying that just because I moved now my life I do all these different things. No, I'm still a creature of habit. But that just wasn't the type of habit and cycle and lifestyle that I was wanting for myself, And so again, I think that, I think maybe getting away, and like I said, even if you just get away for a month or two, you can always go back. But I think getting away and spending that time by yourself, and I think it really teaches you a lot about yourself. And I think me and Briley moving over to Newburgh, and it's not like we moved across the country, but just enough to step back and catch our breath and know the normal outside influences of living in a town where you know everybody, and kind of just being secluded over here, and you know just kind of taking this time to work on ourselves. And that's pretty much the last 10 months. I basically felt like I went into hiding, and that wasn't a personal thing against anybody else. That was just I needed that time to get away and to step back and to really evaluate things. And we spent the last 10 months working on ourselves and working together as a couple, and being in the gym together and working on our physical health together. And Briley went to a couple of meetings for people that have been affected by someone else's alcoholism or addiction. So she was doing things to work on her mental. And so we took this time to kind of just hunker down and step away. And that's what always happens. I feel like you see people that start to make a recovery, and that's kind of what has to happen, right? You see people kind of withdraw, they go into kind of hiding, they work on themselves, and they sort of emerge as this other new person. And I don't think that you can really do it any other way. Because, see, a lot of people, what they like is, even in the midst of especially in the small town like what I'm used to, you see the people they thrive in the same atmospheres of the bars and the drinking and all these things, and they're the middle, I was that person. I was I like to be the life of the party, and, you know, all that stuff was fun. But that's the problem. People that want to get help, but they also don't want to give up being, kind of that guy or that person. And you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't do both. So for a lot of people, and I think also what comes into play is kind of FOMO. It's that fear of missing out. You think you're missing out on all these great times because you're now not drinking or whatever the case may be. And again, that's just the biggest absolute pile of horse shit that you could ever be told, is that you are missing out on times because you're choosing a sober route. Don't let anybody ever try to tell you that. They're lying to you, and they don't care about your well-being. If that's what they're trying to convince you of, you're not missing out on anything. So my last point, which kind of, again, it all kind of goes together. I put therapy/medication, and I have mixed feelings about this because I only did therapy for like a month, one meeting a week for like a month. And I didn't enjoy it. I'm pretty quiet. Again, this podcast stuff is all completely out of my comfort zone. So I hope you guys realize that. If I look or seem like I'm uncomfortable, it's because I am. No, but so I went for a month, and look, I'm not knocking it. There's a Joe Rogan podcast, a woman on there, a doctor, I can't remember what her name was, but she discusses how actually there's some people that it doesn't benefit them to sit around and talk about their feelings and relive those memories. And I think I'm one of those people. I don't think it's good to always keep things sheltered and everything. I think you should have that healthy communication with somebody. But I think the idea that you have to sit around every week and continue to relive some of the worst moments of your life, I don't think is beneficial for everybody. And I think sometimes therapy can hurt people just as much as it can help. And I was always super nervous and anxious about therapy because I was like, fuck, I gotta go sit in here and relive all this shit that I don't want to talk about. And it's not like I had childhood trauma or anything like that I could actually sit down and talk about and go through. I didn't have any of that. I wasn't abused. I wasn't neglected. I wasn't any of these things. So I didn't have these things I could actually sit down and dissect. Like, oh my God, my parents were drunks and they beat me, and I didn't have that. I had great parents. Did everything they could for me. Still do. So there was nothing for me to dissect as far as that goes. And so it was really just me sitting in there just reliving me just being a head ass all this time, and I was like, I already know all these things. Like me just continually reliving these things is doing nothing more but just making my anxiety that much worse. And then the very first medication I ever started, I did start with just Lexapro. Lexapro did not do much for me except make my wiener not work and um, completely killed all sexual desire with zero libido. Okay, that's what Lexapro did to me. The first time I went to the detox center at Deaconess Cross Point, I was taken off Lexapro. I was given Atarax, and then I also started Wellbutrin. After I got out of there, I stayed on those two, and then I ended up adding in a third, which was I can't remember what the third one was. I'll have to come back to that. I don't remember. Briley could tell me. But we'll text her real quick. We'll see if she comes through before the podcast is up. We'll text her. We'll see. What other medication did I used to take besides Lexapro? It's driving me nuts. I can't think of it. But regardless, so I was on 3 medications. I stopped taking the Atarax, and then I stopped whatever this other one was. It's driving me nuts. Once my hormones started to balance out, and I got on TRT, and my hormones got leveled out, the anxiety and my depression came down dramatically. Effexor, that was the other one. Effexor. So after I started to get a grip, look at that, she did come through. I knew she would. She always does. So after I got my hormones and everything rebalanced out and the anxiety and depression came down, I was actually able to wean myself off the Effexor. I did not do that under the guidance of a doctor, so I don't recommend that. It was more of I ran out of a script on like a Thursday, and Friday was a holiday, so I wasn't going to be able to get back around to my prescription until like Tuesday the next week or something. So I was like working on almost a week by the time I was able to get it. Well, after like 5 days, I didn't feel any different. So like another week goes by and I hadn't taken it, and I felt no different, and I just stopped. I never took it again. I never refilled it, and I haven't felt any difference since I stopped. So I'm glad I was able to wean off that. I don't take the Atarax, and I would like to eventually get to the point where I'm off of like TRT, and I've stopped the Wellbutrin as well. But the one thing that I am fond of with the Wellbutrin, if you're someone that is struggling, you have cravings and urges, and like the physical, like it makes your clench lock up, and like your mouth starts to water and you have those types of feelings, which I had for like the first month. The Wellbutrin is actually known to help people with those cravings and the urges and those things as well. So as well, I believe antidepressant as well. So and that's kind of what caught my attention. And the Wellbutrin is the one thing I've taken that I noticed a positive difference 100% whenever I started taking it. The urges are gone. I don't have that stuff going on. But I would like to get to the point where eventually I'm off the Wellbutrin, I'm off the TRT, I'm completely 100% back to natural. And I would like to stay that way probably for a long time, as long as as long as I can. And I'm not in any hurry really to get back on the TRT if I don't have to. And so far I'm feeling pretty good. The energy maybe is down a little more tired. I'm noticing my workouts, I can't go as intense for as long. But other than that, like mentally, I still feel pretty good. And, I still have my days just like anyone else. But eventually, I'd like to be back to that completely natural state of point of mind. And that would be my end goal. So just recap the 5 things again that I thought that I think could be a good thing to look into if you're someone that's struggling, you don't want to talk about. Take these 5 things, write them down, save the TRT for last, but the other ones look into, think about. You don't know, you're unsure about the gym, reach out to me, okay? I'll help you out. You're unsure about what to do in the gym, you're unsure, anything like that. I'm pretty confident I can really help someone with that if they need it. And again, I'm not a doctor. I can tell you just where I went, the things I've done, the people I've spoke to, the doctors I spoke to, the places I've went, and that's again just for entertainment and not educational. So again, the meetings or just a relationship with God, you don't have to go to a meeting every single day. Maybe just next Sunday you just pop into the church. You don't have to get down on your hands and knees and pray to Jesus Christ, but maybe you just want to feel something more than yourself, whatever that is. A church isn't a terrible place to start. Find the right one. Get in the gym. Maybe you change the scenery. Maybe you don't have to move. Take a trip. Get out of there. A sober trip away. Get out for a week. Clear your mind. Look at potential therapy. Talk to someone. I'm not huge on just doping people up, saying you should just go get on heavy medication. No, I don't think you should do that. I think there's medication. I think there's people that need medication. If you truly think you're one of those people and you've tried these other things, then look into it. Do your research. Don't go into it blind. Again, these are just things that I think have helped me. These are things that I still do. I don't do the therapy in the meetings that much, and I'm trying to get away from TRT, but these are things that I did pretty religiously. And I can definitely say that, without all of these things kind of working together, I don't know if I would have made it through. Without between this list and then my wife and my dog, I don't know if I would have made it through. Not to sound dramatic, because after I just said that, I was like, yeah, it sounded kind of fucking gay. But really, these are the things I think they did. It shifted a lot of things for me. So that's all I was wanting to go over this video. Again, going back to last week, guys, thank you so much. Whatever you guys are checking out the video, if you could just quickly hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It means so much to us. If you see the posts on Instagram, Facebook, share them, tell your friends. Again, not for me. Don't do it for me. Do it in case there's someone maybe that needs to hear some of these things. Or is there someone that maybe some of the things I've said, you have a friend, you're thinking, oh wow, like, okay, maybe I have someone I know that's kind of going through this. Share it for them. Okay, share it for those people. All right, I'm not asking you to do it for me or Briley. I'm asking you to do it for them, and I mean that. So, with that being said, thank you guys again. Hopefully next week we'll be getting back into videos. Briley will be back. I know she's your favorite part. Mine too. No, but again, hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you guys for the nice, the positive, the just kind words of encouragement. It means so much. It sticks with me, and then they don't go unnoticed. So thank you guys. Keep tuning in. Keep coming back, and we will see you guys next week. So.